Please welcome Snowflake's Senior Director of Product Management, Carl Perry.
Well, it's great to be here to talk about what's new in analytics here at Build 2025. Let's go ahead and get started. When we talk about how customers can gain more value out of data here at Snowflake, we really think about three specific areas in the analytics space. Number one is easy. We want you focusing on getting value and insights out of the data, not fiddling with knobs and configuring systems. We want to take care of all of that for you, so making it incredibly easy for you to get value out of your data. Second is we want to make it incredibly intelligent. Out of the box, it's AI ready, and you can leverage all of the amazing Cortex capabilities that are inside Snowflake to get even more value out of your data using AI. And then finally, something that the team wakes up and thinks about every single day is making the engine faster and more performant. And what this means, because Snowflake is a cost-based model, it'll actually cost you less as your workloads speed up. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the use cases that we'll be talking about today and get into the details. So one, when we think about getting your data into Snowflake, because tons of customers still have data sitting outside of Snowflake, we think about how can we actually increase the amount of time or decrease the amount of time it takes for you to actually migrate from those old on-prem or cloud-based systems into Snowflake. And that's where SnowConvert AI comes into play. When we think about getting value out of all of the really rich sets of data, geospatial, time series, a bunch of other things, XML, arrays, we really focus on making that really easy. And we'll talk about a number of the engine optimizations we have and new data types to actually get value out of those. As we look into the future, we really think that AI is being completely revolutionized with AI coming to bear on your data. And we'll talk about some of the amazing things that we're doing in the space of AI and BI. And then finally, something new that we're announcing today, we're announcing interactive warehouses, interactive tables, a new near real-time streaming analytic capability that's inside Snowflake that'll unlock entirely new opportunities for you to get value out of data in Snowflake. So let's go ahead and get started. One of the things that we do every single day here at Snowflake is improve the performance of the Snowflake engine. And that means that your cost for running workloads on Snowflake decreases as well. Over the last year, we've been focused on a ton of software and hardware innovations that we've released to you in the form of our Generation 2 warehouses. These warehouses are dramatically faster and available for you to use on any of your workloads today. In particular, DML-heavy workloads perform dramatically better on Gen 2, so you should go check that out, and we'll talk about some of the performance improvements. Secondly, our newly released Snowflake Optima, our new intelligent optimization engine. This does a ton of things behind the scenes to actually accelerate your specific workload by learning what it does and creating indexes and generating metadata that enables us to prune dramatically more, therefore your queries improve. So let's go ahead and talk about some of these things now. So as we look at here, we look at a couple of different points that I want to talk about. So number one is when you compare Snowflake Gen 2 warehouses against managed Spark in production today, we're more than 2 times faster than those on a head-to-head basis. When we start looking at BI concurrency, again, we'll talk more about concurrency when we get to interactive tables and interactive warehouses. We're dramatically faster than managed Spark in industry today. And then finally, we took a huge leap forward with DML operations with a ton of improvements inside Snowflake and Gen 2 warehouses. So go ahead and take advantage of these warehouses and improve your workload's runtime, and therefore, in many cases, you're going to reduce your costs. The other thing that we really relentlessly focus on is making sure that Iceberg tables that you're using inside Snowflake are just as fast as our standard tables. And over the last year, you can see here, we've improved both unmanaged and managed Iceberg table performance by a significant amount, 2.1 and 1.8 times. This just happens out of the box. You don't have to do a single thing to take advantage of all of these improvements. Just move to Gen 2 warehouses, and you'll get this out of the box. We'll continue to improve on these numbers as we work on these spaces more and more. Now, a couple of weeks ago, we announced Snowflake Optima, and this is a really exciting new intelligent engine optimization that we've introduced. In particular, we have 3 features that we have enabled, 2 features we've enabled. One is in GA today, is we'll automatically generate indices that are workload specific for your workloads. We don't go generate indices on everything. It's actually optimized for the workloads that you have running on Snowflake. This doesn't cost you a single thing. You don't have to configure this. It just happens underneath the covers, and suddenly your workload is going to increase in performance. It's going to take much less time. And now GA soon is actually the generation of metadata that we can use for optimizations and pruning. Again, based on your specific workload and data characteristics. We're really excited about this. You should stay tuned. We'll have a lot more to talk about as we go forward in throughout the year. One of the great things that we've seen with our customers is that out of the box, they get these improvements. And FSI is a really great example of them getting value out of these improvements that we launch into production to our customers. And what this ended up doing is it significantly reduced their infrastructure costs by over a third. And what that means is they can actually run more workloads on the same hardware with the same bill here at Snowflake. So really exciting to help them do this, and you should go try out all of these improvements. Now, when we talk about existing systems that are sitting out Snowflake and data, and customers want to move that data into Snowflake to get more and more value from it. And so when we talk about how to accelerate time to value, we really focus on reducing the migration timelines through applying SnowConvert AI and leveraging things like incremental waves and doing automated fixes as you go through that process. We have done a ton of improvements with SnowConvert AI over the last year. In particular, the things that we've done that I'm most excited about is our AI-powered migration assistant and the AI-powered code verification. Oftentimes what we see with migrations is many or most of the issues are actually found late in the cycle when doing UAT. And then you end up finding them, you go back and fix them, and you have to go through the whole process. And this happens again and again and again. This is actually one of the longest increases in migrations end to end. And so what we've done is we've actually generated test cases from the very beginning based on the system you're migrating from, what your data is, what your objects are. And now you run those tests from day one, and we find those issues, and we fix them. And now UAT is reduced immensely, which again, pulls forward getting your data into Snowflake and getting more value out of it. The other thing that's really exciting about SnowConvert AI is that we've expanded moving beyond just the database itself and doing end-to-end migration for your systems. Thinking about moving BI systems to point to Snowflake instead of the old ones. Converting your ETL processes, either using things like dbt and Airflow or other things that will automatically convert your old ETL processes into these. We're really excited about the automation and the acceleration to time to value that SnowConvert AI is providing with our customers today. So you should go check it out if you're looking to do a migration, or reach out to us and we'll be happy to help you out. We worked with CarMax a while ago, and they were moving from a massive on-prem data system. The thing that's most interesting here is they needed to move over 1,200 BI reports from the old system to point to Snowflake. There are 450 data pipelines. This is a massive program. And they really actually ended up accelerating the movement over to Snowflake and reduced the actual manual effort that was required to get value from their data in Snowflake. We were really excited to partner with CarMax and help them get to the AI Data Cloud and get more value out of their data. So now, this is the new big announcements that we have here in the analytics section, where we talk about enabling sub-second analytics on your data. We're excited to launch interactive tables and interactive warehouses today. What are these things? Interactive warehouses and tables enable you to get sub-second analytic experience on top of your data to enable things like batch data serving. That's that's public preview now. And then we're also working on near real-time streaming analytics. So you can stream data into Snowflake and do analytics on top of that data with 5 seconds of freshness and less, and the same latency that I was talking about, again, less than 1 second for all your queries. Really excited about this. We're going to go do a demo now, so let's walk over the demo podium. Okay, what we have here is a little app that we've built to kind of show working with interactive tables and standard tables. So I'm going to click this thing. I'll explain what it does so that we can go ahead and get it running. So what we have here on the right is we have actually all the flight data in the US since the 1970s. This is from the government. They publish it. Anybody can get access to it. And we have a set of queries that we're running against that. And I had 100 queries run against that. They run it, they get the data back, and they actually get the metadata that says how long that query took. And then we go ahead and we actually write that information directly to an interactive table so we can serve it. And that's what you're seeing here. I said run 100 queries against that table with interactive tables and interactive warehouses, and we're seeing, in this case, an average of 1.4 seconds. And, it's pretty consistent there, which is important as we go forward. Let's go ahead and run those same queries against standard tables. And this will take a second. Let me talk about some of the things we've done. We've really focused on how we can actually optimize the layout under the covers of data, how we can do significant caching, how we can change queries that come through the system to dramatically accelerate and shorten the end-to-end time that it takes for a query to execute on Snowflake. And in just a second, you're going to see those queries on standard tables and what the latency runtimes were for those and what the averages. And you see a couple things here. One, obviously, it's dramatically slower. And that's because these tables aren't optimized for, again, these 1 second style queries where you're doing near real-time serving of this data. So that's kind of one. And another thing you'll see in a second is actually you'll see far more variance in the results and the time for the queries on standard tables than on interactive tables. And this has been something, it's not showing it here, unfortunately. This is what happens when you do a live demo. But this is really critical for those batch serving use cases that interactive tables really unlocks. You'll now be able to get a really consistent experience for P99 and P50 queries, which really enables your applications that are built on top of this to be super responsive. So really excited for you all to start trying and using interactive tables and interactive warehouses, again, in public preview, and then we'll be GA soon. Let's go ahead and back. So now, one of the other things that we see customers asking us for and talking to us is, hey, I've got all of this, this workload running on Snowflake, and I'd like to be able to better understand what's happening with my workload, and to be able to figure out, where are my worst queries, where's my worst warehouse from a performance perspective. And so we're really excited to introduce a number of improvements in the product, 2 of which are GA and 1 that will be GA soon. So the first one is Performance Explorer. And Performance Explorer is the single pane of glass that you can use to actually look at the workloads for your entire account or organization. You'll be able to actually dig into specific warehouses and identify what the P99, the median of all your queries are on that. You'll see a bunch of other information like which queries are getting errors, how many errors you're getting, and things like that. This really makes it easier for you to start to dig into where you should be evaluating maybe performance improvements or investigations that you want to do. And then Query Insights is also GA. This is really an amazing feature. Inside of Query History, you can go ahead and look at the information that's there for every given query. And we have a set of insights that we've identified which help customers improve the performance and latency of those queries. Also within there, you'll actually be able to see whenever Snowflake Optima is actually leveraged to do pruning on these queries. So this is a really great experience. Things like you have an exploding join here. You should think about rewriting it. You can take that query, put it into Cortex Analyst and Snowsight Assistant, and ask it to rewrite it for you so it doesn't have this exploding join. Again, end-to-end experiences that really make your life easier here in Snowflake. And then finally, really excited to provide you with grouped query history. What this is, it provides you a way for queries that are the same, that are running all the time, to get kind of like a better compressed experience on those and then dig into specific ones. We're really excited about all of these. Go out and check them out and give us feedback on these particular features. So we have a number of improvements that we've made with data types since we announced things at Build. There's a couple here that I'll like to highlight. I'll start with larger object types. And this is actually, seems like a super easy thing. Oh, great, you went from 16 megs to 128 megs. That's fine. But actually, in real-world scenarios, this is really where this shines in. And our PM that works on our geography and geometry types, talk to us about this. And the key thing is that there are complex shapes that are on coastlines, especially up in British Columbia, that previously those images were not able to be stored as single objects inside Snowflake. And the problem with this is if you can't store these high resolution images when you're doing things like seeing what would happen if there was a flood or a fire, 10 meters off is a huge problem when you're doing this type of analysis. And so with the new larger data types, you can actually store these images in full resolution directly in Snowflake and get more value out of it. The other thing I'd like to talk about is deck float. Deck float really enables a more accurate calculations, especially in financial services industry and scientific scenarios. So now you'll be able to actually do all of those types of calculations and store the data inside Snowflake. So really excited for you to start trying all these things. Finally, actually, all of this stuff is available to you out of the box. You don't have to do anything. It's just there for you to take advantage of it. Again, talking about ease of use and making it there for you. So we talked a little bit in the beginning about how AI is really revolutionizing BI. And I'm really excited to talk about some things that we've been doing here at Snowflake. One of the key things when we think about AI, whether it's in AI tools like Cortex Analyst, Snowflake Intelligence, other things like that, the real foundation of ensuring you get trusted insights out of this data are semantic views. We announced semantic views at our Snowflake conference in the summer. We've continued to add more and more functionality to semantic views. We'll do a demo of that in just a second of using that across multiple different services. And really what this does is it increases the accuracy of the information, the SQL queries that things like Cortex Analyst and Snowflake Intelligence can go ahead and generate and then get you better answers back. This is a really important thing, and we're doing a bunch of work to actually make using semantic views and creating semantic views inside Snowflake much easier. And that's what I'd like to talk about now is Semantic View Autopilot. This enables you to have automatic creation of semantic views out of the box in 4 simple stages. So let's go ahead and walk through those. So the first one, you can point us to data sources such as Tableau, dbt, and any other source, and we'll go ahead and extract things like metrics and dimensions, filters, and other information to add into a semantic view that's inside of your Snowflake account. And then we'll go ahead and we'll start to scope the semantic view, and we'll talk about what the tables are that map to the view that's being created or the information we pulled in. What are the columns? And then you have the ability to refine this list if you want to. And then you go ahead and you'll be able to look at query history. And from query history, we can actually identify tons of really interesting information. For example, what are the relationships of all of these things? All of this gets put into the model, and we can use some of these things for verified queries, which again, ends up increasing the accuracy of the questions and the queries that execute in these AI tools. And then finally, we go ahead and generate a semantic view for you, and now it's available as an object inside Snowflake for you to start using across a series of tools, which again, we'll demo in just a second. Let's go over here and do this. Okay, so what I have here is I have our Snowflake that I'm using, and I have a notebook that we're going to use. And I'm going to demo a couple things. First, I'm going to go ahead and show you the data that we're going to be using. This is the TPC-DS data set that we are using. Sorry, it's starting back up. This is, again, a problem with live demos. There we go. And so what this is going to do is this is going to show you all the tables that are available inside of this database and schema. And you see things like customers. You see things like items and orders and also store sales. Okay? So that's great. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to create the actual semantic view. And I'll just highlight a few things here. So first of all, you can see all the tables. We're going to use these tables here in the demo. This defines all the relationships between these. And again, as you define these things in the semantic view, when you write queries against it, and we'll show this in a second, you don't have to really worry about these things, which makes it dramatically easier to model these, the types of queries that you want to use against this semantic view. We have dimensions here. There's a dimension here that actually breaks out ages into groups, which is kind of nice. And then finally, we have metrics here. And we're going to use one of these metrics, which is total sales quantity, or total store sales quantity. So these are the things. Let's go ahead and create this right now. Now, once I've created that semantic view, we're going to go ahead and use it over in Cortex Analyst. And I have a question here, which I'm going to use. It's what are the top 10 brands in books that are ranked by total sales quantity? So let's go ahead and go do that. Okay, so let's go ahead and copy this in here. And we'll go ahead and run. And what you're going to see is a couple of things. You're going to see Cortex Analyst thinking, and you're actually going to see what the logical query is, and then what the physical query is. This is the query using this against the semantic model. This is the actual physical query that's going to get executed. And as you can see, this is dramatically more complicated. This removes a bunch of the things that you need to know about the actual underlying data. But what I want to highlight here is that Maxi number 1 is the number 1 book in sales, and you have 66,364,960. So remember that number in that book, okay? Now let's go back over. Now, we talked about Cortex Analyst generating queries and getting the results back. Now I want to show you that you can just go ahead and write semantic SQL or standard SQL against that semantic view. So here's what the columns in that view look like. And you'll see a bunch of things. So first of all, you see that there are dimensions defined in here, right, which is great. And then you also see the metrics. And again, one of the metrics that we're going to use is total sales quantity. This is the thing we already leveraged in Cortex Analyst, or in Cortex Analyst. So now, this is semantic SQL. This is something that speaks in terms of semantics. You see that there are metrics and dimensions here that you can go ahead and refer to. And we'll run this. And again, this is going against the same semantic view that Cortex Analyst is. And hopefully, the data is exactly the same. It is. It's maxi number 1. Again, 66 million, which is great. The really amazing thing that we've launched just recently is the fact that you can write standard SQL against a semantic view. You don't have to learn semantic SQL if you don't want to. You can just use the amazing Snowflake SQL that you've been using all along to query that particular data. And you'll see again, maxi number 1 is still the first one. So now, that's great. We've been able to get the same data, again, in 3 different places: Cortex Analyst, Semantic SQL, Snowflake SQL. But let's go ahead and use a different tool. We're going to go ahead and use Tableau. I'm going to go ahead and do a thing here. This is going to generate a TDS, a Tableau data source, that we can then pull into Tableau to interact with this semantic view. So we'll go ahead and generate this. This will go ahead and create a file that I will then download in just a second. And you can see that it's inside of this thing here. This is just downloaded. And I'm going to drag it into Tableau. Great. So now I want to highlight a couple of things. You see brand, you see category. Again, you see total sales quantity. So we're going to go ahead and create that same view here, leveraging the Tableau experience, but against that semantic view. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and drag brand over. It's going to prompt me for a username and password. I'm going to go ahead and use a personal access token that's only good for today. And I'm going to go ahead and sign in. This will take a little while. It's going to go and connect to Snowflake and execute a query, and now we have it. So we have all of the brands that are inside that data set for TPC-DS. Now, I want to go ahead and I want to pull in the total sales quantity here. And again, that's going to run a query against Snowflake. It will bring the results back. Now, it's not going to be sorted by default, and it's not going to be filtered by books. So what we're going to do first is we're going to come over to the, after this finishes executing, we're going to go ahead and we're going to show the filter, and we're only going to look at books. And then what we're going to also do is sort descending, so we can see the first one. And look, it's the exact same one, maxi number 1, $66 million. And again, I'm leveraging the exact same semantic view on both Cortex Analyst, Semantic SQL, Snowflake SQL, and Tableau. And there's a bunch of work we're doing to try to enable connectivity of all of these things across the industry. And let's go ahead and talk about that now. Now, in the demo I just showed a second ago, you saw a couple of things. First of all, there were a lot of demos inside Snowflake. But the reality is that our customers need to work with tools across the entire ecosystem of data. And so as we talked to more and more customers and partners, we saw that there was a need to actually have a standard around semantic views and how to actually interchange these things. And that's why we're excited to talk about the Open Semantic Interchange. This initiative is a strategic investment in driving vendor-neutral openness across the entire data ecosystem. What this is that we have, with a set of customers, which we'll talk about in a second, are going to go define an Apache software framework, open source project that will provide what the interchange format is between different systems. And so you'll be able to take, say, a Tableau semantic model, serialize it out, and then read that inside Snowflake, and vice versa. You'll be able to take that semantic model inside Snowflake and read it in any other tool, serialize it out, and then read it in there. We truly want to make sure that you don't have lock-in of data or business logic in one system. We want to facilitate the ability for customers to get value out of their data when they're defining semantic models and leveraging it in all the systems that are out there. We know this is a real thing, and that's why we went ahead and created OSI. We were really excited to have our very first OSI council meeting on October 17th. Our initial companies that helped launch this are here, in particular BlackRock, DBT, and Salesforce with the Tableau team. We're really excited about what we did there. But we actually had a bunch of other people join us, which is even more exciting. AWS, Calibra, Datahead, Domo, Firebolt, Google, Informatica, Preset, Starburst, and Strategy. This is a huge cross-industry effort that we're looking at doing and enabling more and more companies to bring what they think the definition and interchange format for semantic models should be, so you can get value across your entire data ecosystem with no vendor lock-in. This is really amazing to see such a broad set of industry companies coming together to really help customers get more value out of their data. I want to thank you all for tuning in today. I really hope that you're as excited as I am about all of the amazing analytics capabilities that we're launching and are going to be launching for the rest of the year. We have a bunch of other things happening over the next day and a half here at Build. Go ahead, check out a ton of amazing content, learn a bunch of stuff, and then go build incredible things to leverage value out of your data. Thanks a lot.